Hey y'all, I'm Sarah Wall in the Fox 10 newsroom. Thanks so much for joining us today as we go in depth. Today we're talking about some new numbers that are out that are highlighting a new trend that's on the rise across the country. Are you a secondhand shopper? If you are not alone. You're actually joining a growing number of people who are doing this. So today we're going to take a look at those numbers, why they say this trend is growing. We're also going to take a look at how this is impacting the retail dynamic for shopping, and we're going to talk about how these numbers and how this shopping secondhand can actually have a huge impact, a positive impact on our local economies right here on the Gulf Coast. So this is a trend that's not only happening here locally, but around the country and around the world. So we're going to start by these new numbers that just came out that are highlighting this information. Okay, so let's get right to it. It's actually a new report that just came out from Goodwill. So Goodwill is doing more than good. The largest thrift store chain in the world says it exceeded $7 billion in revenue last year. That is not only a record for 2024, it's also a 7% hike from 2024. So it's a huge new number. Analysts say the uncertain economy, slow job growth, and rise in costs have people shopping at Goodwill stores in order to save money. Now, Goodwill gathers roughly 6 billion pounds worth of goods on an annual basis, right? So people are donating to Goodwill, then Goodwill turns around and sells those items. Of course, that's how secondhand stores work. Some secondhand stores work where people can make money, you donate and then you can get a percentage of the sales or whatever. Some where you donate and the entire percentage actually goes to who you are working to help. It all goes to the organization or whatever when you sell them. But Goodwill is talking about the fact that it gathers roughly 6 billion pounds worth of goods on an annual basis. Items that are not sold in their stores are sent to outlets where they're sold at major discounts. Officials say they plan to add at least 50 new Goodwill stores nationwide. Okay, so this trend, these new numbers coming out are focusing on Goodwill. So we're going to dive a little deeper. We're going to go in depth and take a look at what the statistics are saying about secondhand shopping overall. And y'all, the numbers are very interesting. This is definitely something that is a trend that is growing. Okay, Capital One Shopping did a report with thrifting statistics that was last updated in September. Now, some of the reports that we have coming out about the overall statistics, like nationally and globally, we're waiting on the numbers from 2025. A lot of that stuff comes out in March, so we may be seeing some new numbers and some new trends when we get to March or so. So these are the numbers that we have up to date so far. So this is talking about the fact, according to these thrifting statistics as of September, that 16 to 18% of Americans shop at thrift stores each year, 12 to 15 shop at consignment or resale stores, and 93% of Americans shop online for secondhand items. So in 2023, U.S. secondhand market generated an estimated $53 billion in revenue, and there are a lot of shops for, resale, consignment, and not-for-profit resale shops in the U.S. All right, so there is a report that's out called ThredUp. They put out a resale report every year. This is the report rather for 2025. It has a lot of really good information in it. And one of the things that I want to highlight here that they are focusing on is that as consumers are increasingly thinking about shopping secondhand, the retail industry is adopting new ways to do resale themselves. Also, there is the integration of AI in resale and secondhand shopping as well. So there are a couple of different aspects at play here. Okay, so here's a look at the global market when it comes to secondhand shopping. And by 2029, we're expecting the market for apparel, this is globally for secondhand apparel, $367 billion, right? So you can see how things are growing. You can see in 2021, it was $141 billion, but by 2029, we're looking at $367 billion. And a lot of those things, going up, double digits, the increase double digits. And this is around the country. This does break it down by countries and areas that are doing a lot of the secondhand shopping. And you'll notice North America We don't break it down just the United States, but in this report, but North America does see an increase in all of the secondhand shopping. In fact, every different group is seeing an increase, or every different location is seeing an increase. This is in the United States, and you can see 74 billion expected by 2029. So again, the trend is going up, 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 up. Online is what we talked about just a second ago. The statistics that came in as of September 10th of this year showing that 93% of us online shop for secondhand shopping, right? So we go online and we have our sites that we like, whether we're, we go through like a Facebook group or whatever. 93% of us are shopping online for secondhand, which is a very high number of people. And we're expecting to see retail grow 4 times faster online by 2029, which is a huge amount, right? All right, so taking a look at what people are buying secondhand, the apparel that people are buying secondhand in 2024. Again, the numbers for 2025 are expected to come out in the next couple of months because they have to compile all of them. All of this information comes from a third party that did this big survey to figure out exactly, what people are buying and how it's going or whatever. But interestingly, the top 5 reasons that people buy secondhand that they reported, according to this report: to get better deals, the thrill of the hunt, to afford higher end brands, it's better for the planet, and to find one-of-a-kind looks. A lot of people referencing like vintage. You go to a secondhand store and you find a super cute sweater, but there's only one of them, right? There's not a big long line of shelves that has it in all the different sizes. So you really could find some one-of-a-kind looks. But you can see here the way that people are shopping for it online. If they want to shop peer-to-peer, people are selling items, you know them, you buy it, you go on social media. These are the kinds of different ways that people are shopping online. One of the things that was reported too is what's happening with like policies and things like that, tariffs, different kinds of things may be impacting this because secondhand stores not really falling into those categories of dealing with tariffs, right? I have another graphic I want to show you a little bit further down here that talks a little bit about how retailers are looking at this, right? So we think about secondhand and we know that it's not something brand new that maybe is going to be in a department store, but a lot of stores are actually figuring out ways that they can take their own merchandise and resell them. So they're looking at like brand loyalty, they're looking at like short-term benefits, long-term benefits, all of this kind of stuff, even looking into like take-back programs for customers where you can wear it for a while, return it, potentially be able to resell it. Very interesting it will be to watch the trends that go on with this as we see how the retailers are responding, because a lot of people are actually, doing secondhand shopping. So ThredUp actually took a list of 60,000 different brands in the marketplace and ranked these as best brands for resale. They had a couple of different things that, a couple of different qualifications or characteristics that they put into the mix here to figure out which of these things, how they rank them or whatever. So they have their own algorithm that they use. But this is interesting to take a look at, that if you have any of these brands and you're thinking, I don't know, I don't wear this anymore, maybe we'll see, this is a good place that you could potentially, there's some things you could potentially resell. Brand names: Patagonia, Free People, we've got Anthropologie, Abercrombie & Fitch. Over here we've got Vans, Tommy Bahama, Spanx, Louis Vuitton, all of these. So these are the ones that they see right now are best brands in resale, and then we're looking at resale's rising stars as well. We also mentioned that younger shoppers are really the ones that are pushing this. In fact, some statistics are talking about the fact that younger Americans are actually leading the shift in this type of shopping. They're actually expected to account for more than 2/3 of additional spending on secondhand apparel by 2029. So young folks really are the ones that are kind of pushing the drive here. And this is where you can see they kind of get involved and they can see where they're able to buy things. A lot of that happening on social media. Also, taking a look at AI. We talked about AI. Do y'all remember when we talked about Christmas shopping and that AI was helping with Christmas shopping? Well, now we're seeing AI get involved when it comes to bridging the gap between new and secondhand shopping, because some people feel overwhelmed. There's some numbers over here that show that some people feel overwhelmed. They can't find an item secondhand, so they don't want to buy. They're looking for something specific and they can't find it. And then AI is coming into play here, where it's going to help people be able to connect to things that they're looking for. Retail stores and executives are using using AI to kind of figure out how they can connect the people that shop at their stores with what they sell and how they can maybe do those take-back programs or resale programs or whatever. So it will be interesting to take a look here and continue to take a look at how AI impacts this. I thought this was pretty interesting as well. This is a conversation that PBS News did, and they talked to some folks in the fashion industry, right? And, you know, some of them are people that are brands that we know about. Some of them are kind of up-and-comers, but they talked about why they think there are 3 trends that are shaping the rise of resale. And the first is, it's easy to do. You get your phone out, you're able to kind of like go through social media, you can see all of the different things that people are selling. Really easy to engage and do the resale there. One of the things, a caveat to that, of course, y'all, is if you are doing that, you're going to pick up something that you bought, make sure you do it in those safe places, right? Like police departments have set up cameras and zones for trades or, you know, sales and exchanges and things like that. So make sure if you're going to meet up with someone where you're either selling or buying or whatever the case may be, and it's just you and somebody else, that you do that in a safe place. Because we have had reports of things going badly in those situations. So social media is a huge driver of this as well, because they're talking about the fact that, you know, the trend here, if you take a picture of yourself in an outfit, you've worn it, it's been seen, it's been done, so now you don't want it anymore. So that's kind of creating the market to resale items. And then sustainability and vintage, right? The ability to shop these amazing styles. You can go back 30 to 40 years, pick up styles that nobody else has. They say these are some of the reasons that we are seeing this rise in secondhand shopping. And I wanted to break it down. We talked about like areas, geographical areas, but who's buying secondhand? In the past 12 months, we can see that the U.S. is very high on buying secondhand items, right? 59% of Americans are involved in buying secondhand. All right, so when we think about buying secondhand, it's really interesting too, because as we mentioned, there are some for-profit, you know, resale shops. There are some different, you know, ways that people are doing this, but there are a lot of non-for-profit resale shops that are out there and that are available. Goodwill is one of those. We also have some church shops. We know I've seen some of those right here on the Gulf Coast. I'm going to focus on Goodwill though for a minute, because they are the ones releasing those numbers that are just out about how well things are going in terms of sales. So Goodwill does a lot of good things in the community. They have the situation set up where they have shops in many different places, right? You can go shop at Goodwill, you can do secondhand shopping, and everything that you buy gets turned around and put back into the community and the various programs that Goodwill offers. Goodwill offers programs like job programs. They offer, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our local. This is the Goodwill of the Gulf Coast, and the programs and services that they provide. So take a look at that list there. They have an opportunity center, they have employment services, education services, children and family services, support services, youth services. They have so many different things that they do to help people in our community, right? So everything from employment to education, children, family support, and youth. They help connect people to jobs, education, adult education and GED, career pathway programs, English language. They have soft skills training, and then they also do a lot of work with children and family services. In our area, Goodwill Easter Seals team up, and they have some amazing programs that work with children and families across our area. Early intervention is one of those. In case y'all don't know, early intervention is a service where therapists go and work for free. It's paid for. They go and work with families and really essentially children that have special needs. They work with them from birth to 3, and they provide things like physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, all of these different things that children with special needs, babies, may be a little bit behind on, may need a little extra help with. And they have families like parents and siblings and etc. that they also train them on how to work with their family members with special needs. Y'all, it is an amazing program, and it literally changes lives. Early intervention is amazing. They also have preschool readiness, autism evaluation clinics, child development centers, adult day programs, military respite programs. So you can see that the list kind of goes on and on here on the different things that Goodwill does. And there are other organizations like Goodwill that do these exact same things, but we're focusing on Goodwill today because the numbers have come out when it comes to secondhand shopping that Goodwill actually has a huge amount of people making donations, therefore they can have a huge impact on the community, but support services and youth services as well. So it is amazing to see the impact. So when you think about it, if you're going to donate, because you can donate to Goodwill, you can go drop a bunch of stuff off. They have bins. You can go into the shops, whatever. You can drop off the things that you're no longer using. And when you do that, they turn around and sell them. The money they make goes back into our community. And you can see Goodwill Gulf Coast serves 10 counties in Alabama and Florida with all of these different programs. On kind of a different note, there was a story we did talking about donating to Goodwill. We talk about all the things that you can donate. You're not using them anymore, right? You've got items around the house and you're like, I'm not using this. I feel like somebody could really get a good use out of it. Well, the busiest donation for thrift seasons is actually right now. After Christmas, people are cleaning out their closets and they're taking things to donate. Goodwill alone predicts more than 60,000 cars will drop off items this month. But y'all, not every donation is actually considered to be a good donation. And the reason we say that is there's a Goodwill store in Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, the southern part of Arizona, that recently had to be evacuated after a grenade was found alongside some donated items. It turned out to be a novelty grenade, but it is a reminder to think carefully about what you donate. We actually talked to the folks at that Goodwill store, and this is what they told us.
Something flammable, explosive, that might be perceived as a danger, and then also items that are just outright broken or soiled. Those are all things that will be basically a detriment that we have to handle. But if it's a thing of value, it's something that you feel like might be still gently used, then definitely drop it off at Goodwill.
Absolutely. So if you think somebody else would really get good use out of it, you should absolutely donate it. But the things that they don't want are like construction materials, beds and cribs and sleeper sofas. You got to be real careful about all that kind of stuff, safety hazards and things like that. But just thought it was interesting that there are some things sometimes that can cause problems with donations. Go ahead and check with your local donation center for a list of acceptable items. But we're going to continue to follow this because we are noticing that we are seeing this big new trend. I don't know that it's new so much as it's being documented here. We've got the numbers out. Goodwill is letting us know where they stand with all of these numbers, and it's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. And if it's something that you already do, you are definitely not alone because we are seeing more and more people donate and more people shop secondhand. And one of the things that can make everybody feel good about shopping secondhand, not only do you get something for a good deal, you potentially find something super unique, you find something that's kind of bringing it back around in fashion, but you also, the money that you spend to buy that goes to programs right here in our area that are amazing and making a huge impact for our neighbors and our friends here on the Gulf Coast. So interesting trend, interesting to report the way that Goodwill is really out with these numbers saying that they have exceeded $7 billion in revenue last year. So a lot of people looking to buy secondhand, a trend on the rise pretty much around the world.